I didn't notice them until the elevator doors closed. 5 men, spread out like pieces on a chessboard, too deliberate to be random. One by the stairwell exit, 2 near the concrete pillars, another leaning against a black SUV 3 rows down. The 5th closest pretended to check his phone, but his eyes hadn't left me since I stepped out of the building. My keys bit into my palm. I kept walking toward my car, heels clicking against oil-stained concrete, the sound bouncing off low ceilings and dim fluorescent lights. The parking garage smelled like gasoline and something metallic I didn't want to name. Keep moving. Don't look back. I'd worked late again. The marketing firm had been hemorrhaging clients since the Rossi account pulled out last month. No explanation. Just gone. My boss had been frantic, paranoid, checking over his shoulder during meetings. I'd chalked it up to corporate stress. Now I wondered if I'd been wrong. The man by the SUV pushed off, slow and unhurried. Another stepped out from behind a pillar. My heartbeat kicked up, a drum against my ribs. Row G, 6 cars away. I could see my silver Honda, passenger side facing me, driver's side pressed against the wall. I'd parked there this morning because someone had taken my usual spot. Stupid. Cornered. 4 cars. The footsteps behind me multiplied, syncing up, no longer pretending. 3 cars. My thumb found the unlock button. The Honda chirped, taillights flashing once. I lunged for the door handle. A hand clamped over my wrist. Miss Harlow. The voice came from behind me, smooth and American despite the faint Eastern European curl on the W. I twisted, but his grip was iron. He was tall, square-jawed, expensive suit, stretched over shoulders that had seen a gym and probably a few back-alley brawls. "You're going to come with us," he said. "Not a question. Like hell I am." I drove my heel down onto his instep hard. He grunted, grip loosening just enough. I yanked free, fumbled the door. Open. Threw myself inside. Locked it. Hands shaking, I jammed the key into the ignition. The engine turned over. Then died. No. No, I tried again. Nothing. Just a sick clicking sound. A shadow fell across my windshield. One of them crouched down, eye level with me through the glass. Younger than the others, maybe mid-20s, with a thin scar bisecting his left eyebrow. He smiled. Lifted a small black device in his palm, no bigger than a cigarette lighter. A kill switch. My stomach dropped. He pointed toward the passenger door, mouthing, "Get out." I didn't move. He tapped the glass with his knuckles, still smiling. Behind him, the others closed in, a tightening noose. I could see their faces now blank, professional, the kind of men who'd done this before. My phone. I reached for my purse, fingers closing around the edge of my phone case. The driver's side window exploded. Not shattered. Exploded. Safety glass sprayed inward in a glittering cloud as a hand reached through, unlocked the door from the inside, and hauled it open. I screamed, swinging my purse wildly, but someone grabbed my arm, dragged me out onto the concrete. I hit the ground hard, palms scraping, purse spilling, lipstick, receipts, my phone skittering toward a storm drain. "Stop fighting." The voice was different, older, tired. A hand fisted in my hair, yanking my head back, forcing me to look up. The man holding me had gray at his temples and dead eyes. He smelled like cigarettes and something sharper, gunpowder maybe. "You don't even know what you did," he said quietly. "That's the funny part." "I didn't..." My voice cracked. "I don't know what you're talking about. The Rossi files." He leaned closer. "You copied them." My blood went cold. "No, I had copied files. 6 weeks ago. My boss had asked me to back up client data before a server migration. Standard procedure. I'd burned everything onto an external drive, handed it over, forgotten about it. "I don't have anything." I whispered, "We know." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's why you're coming with us. To make sure you don't remember anything either." He nodded to the others. 2 of them moved toward me. Then the lights went out, all of them. Every fluorescent fixture in the garage, all at once, like someone had thrown a master breaker. Darkness swallowed us whole, thick, disorienting, complete, shouting, footsteps scattering. A metallic click I recognized from movies. Safeties flicking off. I couldn't see, couldn't breathe. The hand in my hair released, and I collapsed forward, palms flat against freezing concrete. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Coming from the direction of the stairwell, echoing through the black, someone was walking toward us. Vincenzo. The name came from one of the men, low and urgent, cut off by a sound I'd never heard before. Something between a crack and a wet thud. A body hit the ground. Silence. Then another crack. Another body. I pressed myself against my car, trying to make myself smaller, invisible. My eyes adjusted just enough to see shapes moving in the dark fluid. Efficient, brutal. A muzzle flash lit the garage for half a second. In that strobe of light, I saw him. Tall, dark suit, no tie, black hair pushed back from a face carved from stone and shadow. And his eyes, cold, calm, fixed on the men around me like they were already dead. The gunshot still rang in my ears when the darkness returned. More sounds, grunts, something snapping, a choked-off scream, then the footsteps again. Closer, stopping, right, in, front, of, me. I couldn't see him anymore, but I could feel him. The air changed, thickening, charged with something I didn't have a name for. "Stay behind me." His voice was low, quiet, absolutely certain. "What? Stay behind me." A hand, warm, solid, pressed against my shoulder, guiding me backward, positioning me against the car. Then he stepped forward, putting his body between me and the disses. Remaining men. The lights flickered, came back on. 4 bodies on the ground. The 5th, the one with the scar, stood frozen 10 feet away, gun raised but shaking. The man in front of me didn't move. "Walk away," he said. Scarface's hand trembled. "Rossi will." Rossi answers to me. The air left the garage. Scarface's face went white. He lowered the gun, turned, ran. I couldn't move, couldn't think, could only stare at the broad shoulders in front of me, the crisp lines of his suit, the absolute stillness in his posture. He turned, and I saw his face clearly for the first time. Sharp jaw, straight nose, eyes the color of smoke and steel, studying me like I was a problem he hadn't decided how to solve yet. "Who are you?" I breathed. His mouth curved, not quite a smile. "Someone you should have met a long time ago." He drove like he owned the road. Maybe he did. I sat in the passenger seat of a car that cost more than my yearly salary. All black leather and dark wood, silent except for the purr of the engine, and tried to remember how to breathe normally. "Someone you should have met a long time ago." The words kept circling back, a riddle I couldn't solve. My hands were still shaking. I'd tucked them between my knees to hide it, but I could feel his awareness even when he wasn't looking at me. Like he cataloged everything. The tremor in my fingers, the way I'd pressed myself against the door when he'd opened it, gesturing for me to get in. I hadn't gotten in willingly. I'd looked at the bodies on the concrete unconscious. I'd realized with dizzy relief, chests still rising and falling, and then back at him. At the absolute certainty in his posture that I would obey. "Stay behind me." I'd obeyed. Now I was trapped in a moving vehicle, with a man who'd taken down 5 armed men in less than 2 minutes, and I didn't even know his name. "Where are we going?" "Where?" My voice came out steadier than I expected. "Somewhere safe." That's not an answer. It's the only one. "You're getting right now." I turned to look at him fully. His profile was all sharp angles, strong nose, defined jaw, the kind of bone structure that belonged on Roman coins or Renaissance paintings. He kept his eyes on the road, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on his thigh. Relaxed, controlled, like he hadn't just killed. No, not killed. They were breathing. "You knew my name," I said, back in the garage. "Before any of this." His jaw tightened, barely perceptible. "Yes. How? I make it my business to know things." "That's not—" I stopped, frustration building in my chest. "Who the hell are you?" Silence stretched between us, broken only by the soft sound of rain starting against the windshield. We'd left downtown, heading north toward the warehouse district. Streetlights flickered past, casting moving shadows across his face. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter. "Dante Moretti." The name hit me like cold water. Moretti. I'd heard it before, whispered in. The break room at work after the Rossi account vanished. Mentioned on the news in careful, neutral tones when discussing alleged organized crime connections and ongoing investigations. The kind of name that made people look over their shoulders. I couldn't finish. "Yes." My stomach twisted. "You're one of them." "The Mafia?" The word sounded almost amused in his mouth. Is that what you're trying to say? I pressed harder against the door, hand finding the handle. We were moving at 60 miles per hour, rain slicking the streets, but my brain was screaming, get out, get out, get out, don't. His voice cut through my panic, sharp as glass. I didn't save you to hurt you, Arya. Hearing my first name in his mouth felt too intimate. Wrong. Then why? I demanded. Why were you there? Why did you... I gestured helplessly. All of that? He was quiet for a long moment, taking a turn onto a tree-lined street I didn't recognize. Old mansions rose on either side, set back, behind iron gates and manicured lawns. Money. Old money. Because they were going to kill you, he said finally. And I couldn't allow that. Why not? He glanced at me then, just for a second. Something moved behind his eyes, calculation maybe. Or something heavier. Because you're worth more alive. The words settled over me like ice. Worth more alive. I'm not. My voice cracked. I don't have anything. I don't know anything. Those files. I was doing my job. I didn't even look at them. I know. Then why? Because Marco Rossi thinks you did. He pulled up to a gate, pressed something on the dashboard. The gate swung open silently. And what Marco thinks determines whether you see tomorrow. The car rolled forward into a circular driveway. A house, no, a mansion rose before us. All stone and glass and elegant columns. Warm light glowed from tall windows. It looked like something from a movie. Untouchable. Dangerous. He killed the engine. Neither of us moved. Rain drummed on the roof, a steady rhythm that should have been soothing but only made the silence between us more suffocating. What's in the files? I asked quietly. Names. Transactions. Proof of cooperation between Rossi's operation and certain city officials. His hand flexed on the steering wheel. Proof that could destroy him. I didn't see any of that. I believe you. He turned to face me fully. But belief doesn't matter in my world. Only proof. And right now, Rossi has convinced enough people that you're a liability. So what happens now? My throat felt tight. You keep me here? Lock me up until what? Until I fix this. And if you can't? Something dangerous flickered across his face. I will. The certainty in those two words should have terrified me. Instead, I felt something else, something I didn't want to examine too closely, something that felt almost like relief. What's wrong with me? I reached for the door handle. I want to go home. His hand shot out, catching my wrist. Not rough, but firm enough to stop me. His skin was warm against mine, and I could feel my pulse jumping against his fingertips. You can't. His thumb pressed against the inside of my wrist, right over my racing heartbeat. There's a contract on you, Arya. 3 different crews hunting you. If you go home, you die. I met his eyes. Up close, they weren't just gray, they were layered. Storm clouds over steel, with something almost like regret buried underneath. How long? I whispered. His expression didn't change, but his grip tightened fractionally. As long as it takes. Then he released me, opened his door, and stepped out into the rain. I sat frozen in the passenger seat, watching him walk toward the house, confident, unhurried, absolutely certain I would follow. And God help me. I did. The house swallowed me whole. Marble floors stretched endlessly, reflecting warm light from crystal chandeliers that hung like frozen stars. Art lined the walls, real art, the kind I'd only seen in museums. Everything whispered money and power and control. Dante moved through it like a king through his castle, shrugging off his rain-dampened jacket and draping it over his arm. He didn't look back to see if I followed. He knew I would. A woman appeared from a side hallway, 50s, gray hair pulled into a severe bun, wearing black slacks and a crisp white blouse. She took his jacket without a word, her eyes sliding to me with cool assessment. Julia, prepare the east guest room. Dante's voice was different here, commanding but not cold. And bring dinner up. She needs to eat. She, not Miss Harlow, not Arya, just she, like I'd become an object to be managed. Si, signore. Julia disappeared down another hallway. Dante turned to me. You'll stay on the second floor? East wing. There are clothes in the closet that should fit. Bathroom stocked. You keep women's clothes? The words came out sharper than I intended. Something flickered across his face, amusement maybe. My sister visits occasionally. Sister. The word felt wrong attached to him. Too human. Come. He moved toward a curved staircase, clearly expecting me to follow. I didn't move. He stopped, hand on the banister, and turned back. In the chandelier light, I could see details I'd missed in the garage. A thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow, the faint shadow of exhaustion under his eyes, the way his shirt collar sat open at the throat, revealing a sliver of olive skin. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said quietly. "People who say that usually do. Then consider me the exception." He climbed 2 steps, paused. "You can stay down here if you prefer, but you're not leaving. Those are the options." My hands curled into fists. I could scream. "You could." He continued up the stairs. "But there's no one to hear you except my people. And they answer to me." I stood in that enormous foyer, rain still pounding against windows I couldn't see, and felt the weight of my choices pressing down. Stay and become a prisoner in a gilded cage. Run and die in a parking garage or alley or wherever Rossi's men found me next. Some choice. I followed him up the stairs. The east guest room was bigger than my entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked manicured gardens, now dark except for subtle path lighting that turned the rain into silver threads. A king-sized bed dominated one wall, dressed in cream and gold. An antique writing desk sat beneath one window. A door led to what I assumed was the bathroom. It was beautiful. It was a cage. "Dinner will be here soon." Dante stood in the doorway, not quite entering. "Try to eat something." "Why do you care if I eat?" He studied me for a long moment, expression unreadable. "Because you're under my protection now. That means something." "What does it mean?" I turned to face him fully. "That I'm property? An asset? What am I to you?" His jaw tightened. "Someone who needs to stay alive." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight." He moved to leave, and something in me snapped. I crossed the space between us before I could think better of it, grabbing his arm. His muscles tensed under my fingers, solid and warm through the fabric of his shirt. "I deserve real answers," I said, hating how my voice shook. "You pulled me into this whatever this is. You don't get to keep me in the dark." He looked down at my hand on his arm, then back up at my face. This close, I could smell him rain and cedar and something darker, like smoke from a fire that wouldn't quite die. "Tomorrow," he said softly. "I'll explain tomorrow." "Why not now?" "Because right now, I need you calm, and the truth won't help with that." He gently removed my hand from his arm, but his fingers lingered on mine for a heartbeat longer than necessary. Then he stepped back into the hallway. "One more thing," he said, pausing. "Don't try to leave. There are guards. They have orders to stop you." I'd rather not have that confrontation. The door closed with a soft click. I stood frozen, staring at the polished wood, feeling tears burn behind my eyes. I wouldn't cry, wouldn't give him that. Instead, I explored. The bathroom was marble and gold, stocked with expensive soaps and thick towels. The closet held clothes in my size: dresses, jeans, soft sweaters, all with tags still attached. Like he'd prepared for this. Like he'd known. I changed into a sweater and leggings, needing to shed my work clothes like a skin I no longer fit. Julia brought dinner on a silver tray: pasta with fresh vegetables, crusty bread, a glass of red wine. I ate mechanically, tasting nothing. After, I stood at the window, watching rain sheet down the glass. That's when I heard it. Music. Faint, drifting up from somewhere below. A violin. I pressed my ear against the door. Yes, definitely a violin, playing something slow and achingly sad. Something classical I didn't recognize but felt in my chest. Anyway, I shouldn't have opened the door, but I did. The hallway was dimly lit, wall sconces casting more shadow than light. I followed the sound down the stairs, through corridors I hadn't seen before, deeper into the house. The music grew louder. I found myself outside a closed door, light seeping beneath it. The violin sang behind the wood, mournful, beautiful, played by someone who understood grief. My hand hovered over the handle. Don't. I turned it anyway. The door swung open. Dante stood in the center of a study lined with books, violin tucked under his chin, eyes closed. He wore only his dress pants and a thin white undershirt, feet bare on dark hardwood. The bow moved across strings like a confession, drawing out notes that sounded like loneliness and rage and something breaking. He opened his eyes, saw me, didn't stop playing. We stared at each other across the space, predator and prey, savior and captive. Something else I didn't have words for. When the last note faded, the silence felt alive. "You play," I whispered. "My mother taught me." His voice was rough, unguarded. "Before she died." He set the violin down with careful precision. "You should be in your room, Arya." "Why?" I stepped inside. "What are you hiding?" His expression shifted, something dangerous rising to the surface. "Everything. Get out." The words came quiet, controlled, but I heard the violence underneath. Like ice over deep water, one wrong step and I'd fall through. I should have listened. Instead, I moved further into the study, drawn by something I couldn't name. Maybe defiance, maybe exhaustion, maybe the way he'd looked at me in the garage like I mattered, even if I didn't understand why. I said, "I heard you." I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly aware of how thin the borrowed sweater was. "But I'm already here, and you said you'd explain tomorrow. Why not now?" His hand flexed at his side, then relaxed with visible effort. He was good at control, I realized, exceptionally good, which meant the moments when it slipped were significant, like now. "You don't know what you're asking," he said. "Then tell me." Rain lashed against the windows behind him, and somewhere in the house, a clock chimed midnight. The study smelled like leather and old books and the cedar scent that clung to his skin. Personal, intimate, a space no one else entered. I'd violated something by coming here. Dante moved to a mahogany desk near the window, reaching for a crystal decanter. He poured 2 fingers of amber liquid into a glass, downed it in one swallow. Didn't offer me any. "Marco Rossi runs the South Side," he said, back still to me. "Drugs, protection, gambling, standard operations. But 6 months ago, he started getting ambitious, started thinking he could expand north." "Your territory," I guessed. "Yes." He poured another glass, slower this time. "There are rules in this world, boundaries, break them. And," he made a small gesture, "consequences. So what, your enemies?" "No." He turned, leaning against the desk, glass cradled in one hand. "We're at war." The word hung between us, heavy and cold. "The files you copied," he continued. "They weren't just client records. They were transaction logs. Proof that Rossi's been laundering money through your firm for 2 years, using legitimate businesses to clean dirty cash." My stomach dropped. My boss is either complicit or spectacularly stupid. Dante took a slow sip. Either way, when Rossi found out about the backup drive, he panicked. Couldn't risk that information getting out. "But I gave it to my boss." I protested. "I don't have it anymore." "I know. Rossi knows. But he also knows you've seen the files, even if you didn't understand them." His eyes met mine across the dim room. "You're a witness." And witnesses don't live long in his world. I sank into a leather armchair, legs suddenly unsteady. "So he sent those men to kill you?" "Yes." The casual, the way he said it made it worse somehow. Like death was just another business transaction. "How did you know?" I asked quietly. "How did you know they'd come for me tonight?" Something shifted in his expression. He set down the glass, crossed his arms over his chest. The thin undershirt stretched across muscle and shadow, revealing more of him than the expensive suits had. More human, more dangerous. "I've had someone watching you," he admitted. "For 3 weeks. The air left my lungs." "You what?" "Since the moment Rossi's accountant disappeared." His voice remained steady, matter of fact. I knew he'd start eliminating loose ends. "You were obvious. You've been stalking me?" "I've been protecting you." He pushed off the desk, taking a step closer. "There's a difference." "No." I stood, anger flooding through the fear. "No, there isn't. You invaded my privacy, followed me, watched me, and saved your life tonight." His voice hardened. "You're welcome." I wanted to hit him, wanted to scream. Instead, I turned away, pressing my palms against my eyes. "Breathe. Just breathe." "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why do you care if I die? You don't know me." Silence stretched so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Yes, I do." I turned back slowly. He'd moved to the desk, hand resting on a silver picture frame I hadn't noticed before. He picked it up, stared at it for a long moment, then held it out to me. I crossed the space between us, took it with trembling fingers. The photograph showed 3 people. A young woman, maybe 25, with dark hair and bright eyes, laughing at the camera. Beside her, a man I didn't recognize, arm around her shoulders. And in the background, barely in frame, a younger version of Dante, maybe 16, still growing into the sharp angles of his face, but unmistakably him. My sister, Lucia, he said quietly, and her fiancé, Marco. I looked up sharply. Marco? As in, Rossi. His jaw was granite. Before he was Rossi, when he was just another kid from the neighborhood who wanted more. The pieces started clicking together in my mind, forming a picture I didn't want to see. What happened to her? His hand closed into a fist on the desk. She found out what he was, what he'd become. She was going to leave him, go to the police, tell them everything. He paused, the muscle in his jaw jumping. She died in a car accident 2 days later. Oh God. It wasn't an accident, I whispered. No. He took the frame back, set it carefully on the desk, facing out like a shrine. It wasn't. I understood then. The war, the protection, the way he'd looked at me in that garage. I look like her. It wasn't a question. He didn't answer. Didn't need to. Dante, you should go back to your room. His voice had gone flat, empty. We'll talk more tomorrow. Don't shut down on me. Not now. Go. The word cracked through the air like a whip. I flinched but held my ground. What happened to Marco after she died? Dante's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw the full depth of the hatred there. The kind of hatred that burned for years without consuming itself. The kind that waited. I made him a promise, he said softly, that one day I'd take everything from him. The way he took everything from me. Outside, lightning split the sky. And you think I'm how you do it? I breathed. His silence was answer enough. I didn't sleep. How could I? Knowing I was a ghost. A replacement for a dead woman in a vendetta I hadn't asked to be part of. I sat in the window seat until dawn, broke gray and cold over the gardens, replaying everything. The way Dante had looked at me in the garage, the certainty in his voice when he'd said I couldn't allow that, the photograph on his desk. I look like her. My reflection stared back at me from the rain-streaked glass, dark hair, olive skin, high cheekbones. How much did I look like Lucia? Enough that he'd been watching me for 3 weeks. Enough that he'd put himself between me and 5 armed men without hesitation. Enough that I was worth keeping alive. You're worth more alive. The words took on new meaning now. Sickening meaning. A soft knock interrupted my spiral. Signorina? Julia's voice, muffled through the door. Breakfast. I didn't answer, but she entered anyway, carrying another silver tray. Coffee, pastries, fresh fruit. She set it on the small table near the window, her movements efficient and silent. He's asking for you, she said. Downstairs, when you're ready. And if I'm not ready? Her eyes dark and knowing met mine. Then he'll wait. But Signor Moretti is not a patient man. She left before I could respond. I forced down coffee and half a pastry, then dressed in jeans and a simple black sweater from the closet. My clothes, my size. Tags cut off now, like I'd already accepted this life. No, I was leaving. Today. As soon as I could figure out how to get past the guards Dante had mentioned. But first, I needed answers. I found him in a different room this time, a sunlit breakfast nook overlooking the gardens. He sat at a small wrought iron table, reading a newspaper, espresso cup at his elbow. He'd changed into a fresh suit, charcoal gray, tie perfectly knotted, back to the controlled exterior. Like last night hadn't happened. He looked up when I entered, folded the paper with precise movements. You didn't sleep, he observed. Neither did you. A ghost of something amusement? Respect? Crossed his face. No. I sat across from him uninvited. I want to leave. No, that's not. You want answers, he interrupted smoothly. Then ask. But the answer to leaving is no, now and for the foreseeable future. My hands curled in my lap. You're using me, as bait or leverage or I don't even know what. But I'm not her, Dante. I'm not Lucia. His expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. I know that. Do you? I leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're playing out some revenge fantasy with a woman who just happens to look like your dead sister. That's not what this is. Then what is it? He stood abruptly, crossing to the window, hands in his pockets. The morning light cut sharp angles across his profile, highlighting the tension in his shoulders. Marco Rossi killed my sister because she knew too much, he said, voice low and controlled. Because she was going to expose him, make him vulnerable. He turned to face me. You're in the exact same position. You've seen files that could destroy him. You're a liability he needs to eliminate. So you're protecting me out of the goodness of your heart? I'm protecting you because I refuse to watch another innocent woman die for his mistakes. The words came out harder than he probably intended. Whether you look like Lucia or not. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But you are going to use me against him, I said quietly, aren't you? He held my gaze for a long moment. Then, slowly, deliberately, he crossed back to the table and sat down, poured himself more espresso with steady hands. Yes, he said simply. The honesty shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. How? By keeping you alive. He took a sip, set the cup down. Every day you breathe is a day Marco knows he failed. A day he has to wonder when you'll surface, what you'll say, who you'll tell. His eyes found mine. You become his obsession, his weakness. While you do what? Wait for him to make a mistake? While I dismantle his empire piece by piece. He leaned back, utterly calm. He's already destabilized, paranoid about the files. Your survival will push him over the edge. He'll get reckless, and when he does, you'll destroy him. Yes, I should have felt horror. Fear. Instead, I felt something closer to exhaustion. This was my life now. A pawn in a war I hadn't known existed until yesterday. What if I go to the police? I asked. Tell them everything? You'd be dead within 12 hours. He said it without emotion. Marco has half the department on his payroll. The other half are too scared to act. So I have no choice. You have one choice. He leaned forward, forearms on the table. Trust me, or die trying to run. The words hung between us, brutal and honest. And after? My voice came out smaller than I intended. After you've destroyed Rossi, what happens to me then? Something shifted in his expression, subtle but there. You go back to your life. Just like that? Just like that. I didn't believe him. Couldn't afford to. I need fresh air, I said, standing. The gardens. I'm going for a walk. Fine. He stood as well. I'll come with you. That's not. You don't go anywhere alone, Arya. His tone left no room for argument. Not until this is over. I wanted to fight, to scream about autonomy and choice and freedom. Instead, I walked to the door. He followed. The gardens were beautiful. Manicured hedges, stone paths, a fountain at the center that tinkled softly in the morning air. But I barely saw any of it. I was too aware of him beside me. Not touching, maintaining a careful distance, but there, solid, present, watching. Why a violin? I asked suddenly. He glanced at me, surprised. What? Last night. You play violin. Why? He was quiet for several steps. My mother believed music kept us human, reminded us we could create something beautiful in an ugly world. And does it? Sometimes. We rounded a corner, and I saw at a bench beneath a cherry tree, petals scattered across the stone like pink snow. I sat without asking permission. He remained standing, scanning the perimeter with practiced eyes. You can't watch me every second, I said. I can try. That's not living. That's existing. He looked down at me then, really looked, and something in his expression softened, just slightly. For now, existing is enough. A phone buzzed. His. He pulled it from his pocket, read the screen, and his entire body went rigid. What? I stood. What is it? His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear. Your apartment. Someone burned it down last night. The photographs looked like crime scene evidence. Dante's phone screen glowed between us on the kitchen table, image after image of blackened walls, melted furniture, windows blown out from heat. My apartment, or what used to be, everything I owned, gone. When? The words scraped out of my throat. 3 a.m. Dante's voice was clinical, detached. The way doctors delivered bad news. Fire department said, it started in the kitchen. Accelerant detected. Definitely arson. I stared at a photo of my bedroom, the bed frame twisted like a skeleton. My grandmother's quilt reduced to ash. The book I'd been reading still visible on the nightstand. cover curled and black. "They thought I was home," I whispered. "Yes." I looked up at him. He stood with his back against the counter, arms crossed, watching me with that unreadable expression. Calculating. Always calculating. "You knew this would happen." Accusation sharpened my voice. "That's why you had me followed. That's why you were so ready last night." I suspected. Suspected? I stood so fast the chair scraped against tile. "My entire life just burned down and you suspected. If I'd known for certain, I would have moved you sooner." His composure never cracked. "I work with probabilities, Arya. Patterns. Marco's been eliminating witnesses. Your building had weak security. It was logical." "Logical." I laughed, the sound brittle and wrong. "God, do you hear yourself? You're talking about my life like it's a chess move. In this world, it is." The bluntness of it struck me like a slap. I turned away, pressing my palms against my eyes, trying to hold back tears that would only make me feel weaker. Everything. Gone. My clothes. My photos. The stupid coffee mug my best friend gave me last Christmas. The journal where I'd written down every stupid dream and fear. All of it reduced to ash and smoke. "I can replace the material things," Dante said behind me, quieter now. "Whatever you need. I don't want your money." I spun back. I want my life back. The one where I went to work and complained about deadlines and worried about normal things like rent, and whether I'd remembered to water my plants. My voice broke. Not whether someone's going to burn me alive in my sleep. He didn't respond. Just watched me unravel with those storm-gray eyes. "Say something," I demanded. "Anything. What do you want me to say?" "That you're sorry. That this is temporary. That I'm not going to spend the rest of my life running from men who want me dead." He pushed off the counter, crossing the space between us in 3 strides. Suddenly, he was right there. Close enough I could see the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw. Smell cedar and something darker. Anger. Maybe. Barely contained. "I can't promise temporary," he said, voice low and rough. "I can't promise you'll ever feel safe again. This world, my world, it doesn't work that way. Once you're in, you're in. I didn't choose this. Neither did Lucia." The name came out like a wound. She didn't choose to fall in love with a monster. Didn't choose to die for it, but she did. His hand came up, hesitating an inch from my face, then dropping. "At least you're still breathing. At least you have a chance." The raw pain in his voice stopped me cold. "Tell me about her," I said softly. "Really tell me. Not just the ending." His jaw worked. For a moment I thought he'd refuse. Then, "She was good. Genuinely good. In a way that shouldn't exist in families like ours." He moved to the window, gaze distant. "She volunteered at shelters. Read to sick kids at the hospital. Believed people could change." "Did you believe that?" "Enway, no. Brutal honesty. But I believed her. And when she said Marco was different, that he wanted out," he stopped, hands curling into fists. "I believed her enough to let him get close. It's not your fault she died. Isn't it?" He turned, and the look on his face was devastating. I knew what he was, what he wanted. Power, control. My sister was collateral, a way into the family. His voice dropped to something almost inaudible. I should have stopped it. I crossed to him without thinking, driven by something I didn't understand. Compassion, connection, the shared weight of guilt we both carried. "You can't save everyone," I said. "I could have saved her. Maybe. Or maybe she would have loved him anyway. Made her own choices." I hesitated, then added, "Like I'm making mine now." His eyes snapped to my face. "What choice?" "To stay." The word surprised me as much as him. "Not because you're forcing me, not because I don't have options, but because if I run, I'm dead. And if I'm going to survive this..." I took a breath. "I'd rather do it with someone who actually gives a damn whether I make it." Something shifted in the air. Between us. Dangerous. Electric. "I'm not a good man, Arya." His voice had gone rough. "I've killed. Destroyed. Taken things I wanted without remorse. I know. You should be terrified of me. I am." I held his gaze. "But I'm more terrified of them." He studied my face like he was memorizing it. His hand lifted again, and this time it didn't stop. Fingertips brushed my cheek, gentle, questioning, completely at odds with everything I knew about him. "You remind me of her," he admitted quietly. "The goodness. The fire. But you're not her. You're... His phone buzzed, harsh and insistent. He pulled back, checked the screen, and his entire expression went dark. What? My stomach dropped. Marco. He looked at me, something dangerous igniting behind his eyes. He wants to meet. That's insane. He just tried to kill me. He doesn't know you're here. Dante's voice had gone cold, strategic. He thinks you're dead. Which means, this is your chance. I understood suddenly. To get close to him. Yes. When? Tonight. Neutral ground. Old church on the east side. He tucked the phone away. I'm going alone. Like hell you are. His eyes snapped to mine, sharp with warning. This isn't negotiable. You're right. I lifted my chin. Because I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. He wants to confirm I'm dead, doesn't he? The pieces clicked together. What better way than to see me walk into that church alive? Dante's expression shifted surprise, calculation, something that might have been admiration. You have no idea what you're suggesting. Then tell me. He stepped closer. Close enough I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. If you walk into that church, he said softly, everything changes. There's no going back. No pretending you're an innocent caught in the crossfire. His hand found my chin, tipping it up. You become a weapon. My weapon. Against him. My heart hammered against my ribs. Good. His thumb traced my lower lip barely. There. Devastating. You're sure? I thought of the photographs. My burned apartment. The life I'd never get back. I'm sure. Something dark and satisfied crossed his face. Then we have work to do. The dress hung in my room like a threat. Blood red. Silk. Cut to devastate. You want me to wear that? I stared at Dante standing in my doorway, his expression unreadable. I want you to look like you belong to me. He said it without inflection, like he was discussing the weather. Marco needs to believe you're under my protection. Completely. The dress makes a statement. That I'm your property? That you're untouchable. He stepped inside, picked up the hanger, held the dress against me. His eyes traveled down, clinical and assessing. He'll recognize the designer, the cost. He'll understand exactly what it means. What does it mean? His gaze lifted to mine. That I value you enough to mark you as mine. The words settled over my skin like heat. I'm not yours, I said quietly. Tonight you are. He draped the dress across the bed. Put it on. We leave in an hour. He turned to go. Dante. He stopped, back to me. What if this doesn't work? What if he... I couldn't finish. Then I kill him. Simple. Final. And anyone else who tries to hurt you. The door closed behind him. I stared at the dress, hands trembling. This was insane. Walking into a meeting with the man who'd tried to burn me alive, dressed like some Mafia princess, playing a role I didn't understand. You become a weapon. I picked up the dress. An hour later, I barely recognized myself. The silk clung to every curve, the neckline dipping dangerously low, the slit rising high on my thigh. Julia had appeared without being summoned, pinning my hair into an elegant twist, applying makeup with an expert hand, smoky eyes, red lips that matched the dress exactly. Bellissima, she murmured, stepping back to assess her work. He will not be able to look away. Which he? I asked. She smiled, knowing and sad. Both. A knock. Dante entered without waiting for permission. And stopped. His eyes traveled over me slowly, something dangerous flickering across his face. He'd changed to different suit, midnight blue, no tie, the top button of his shirt undone. He looked expensive, untouchable, lethal. Perfect, he said. Voice rough. I feel ridiculous. You look like mine. He crossed to me, pulled a long velvet box from his jacket. One more thing. Inside, a diamond necklace, delicate chain, single teardrop stone that probably cost more than my yearly salary. I can't. You can. You will. He moved behind me, lifting the necklace. His fingers brushed my neck as he fastened the clasp, warm against my skin. Everything tonight is calculated, Arya. The dress. The jewels. The way you stand beside me. His breath ghosted against my ear. He needs to see you as untouchable, as mine. I watched our reflection in the mirror, him behind me, hands still on my shoulders. The diamond catching light at my throat. We looked like we belonged together. The thought terrified me. What do I say to him? I asked. Nothing. His hands tightened fractionally. You don't speak unless spoken to. You don't meet his eyes. You stay beside me silent and perfect, while I negotiate. Negotiate what? Territory. Terms. The usual theater. He released me, stepping back. But what he'll really be watching is you, trying to understand how you survived, how you ended up here. And if he doesn't believe it, he will. Dante's voice carried absolute certainty. Because I'm going to make him believe the only thing he fears. What's that? His eyes met mine in the mirror, cold and calculating. That I took something of his and made it mine. The car ride was silent. Dante drove this time. No driver, no witnesses. Just the two of us in the dark interior, city lights sliding past like memories. I watched his hands on the wheel, steady, controlled. The same hands that had fastened diamonds around my throat. The church is neutral ground, he said finally. Sacred space. Even we respect certain rules. You mean you won't kill each other inside? We'll try not to. Almost a smile. But if things go wrong, they won't. He glanced at me. You sound certain. I'm not. I turned to face him. But I trust you to keep me alive. That's enough. Something passed across his face. Surprise, maybe, or something deeper. Arya, don't. I looked away. Don't say whatever you're about to say. Not now. Not when we're driving into the lion's den wearing expensive clothes and pretending to be something we're not. And what are we pretending to be? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know anymore. The church rose against the night sky. Old stone, broken stained glass. Years of neglect written into every crack. Abandoned by God, if it had ever held him at all. 2 black SUVs were already parked outside. He brought backup, I whispered. So did I. Dante nodded toward the shadows. I looked closer, saw movement 3 figures positioned around the perimeter. His men. Stay close, he said, killing the engine. Don't speak. Don't react. No matter what he says. What if? No matter what. His hand found mine in the dark, squeezed once. Trust me. Then he was out, moving around to open my door. I stepped out into cold night air, the dress suddenly feeling like armor and exposure all at once. He offered his arm. I took it. We walked toward the church entrance together, my heels clicking against cracked stone. The door stood open, golden light spilling out into darkness. Inside, I could hear voices. Then we crossed the threshold, and I saw him. Marco Rossi stood at the altar, flanked by 2 men with guns barely concealed under their jackets. He was handsome in a dangerous way, sharp suit, dark hair, cruel mouth. Exactly the kind of man who'd kill his fiancée and sleep soundly after. His eyes found me, and everything stopped. He went, pale. Actually pale, like he'd seen a ghost. Cristo Santo, he breathed. Dante's hand tightened on my arm, keeping me anchored beside him. Hello, Marco. His voice echoed through the empty church. I believe you two have met. Marco's eyes never left my face. This isn't possible. She's alive? Dante smiled, cold and vicious. Yes. Surprise. You. Marco's hand moved toward his jacket. Dante didn't flinch. I wouldn't. Not in a house of God. The silence stretched, brittle as glass. Then Marco laughed harsh, disbelieving. You brought her here. To me. He stepped forward. Do you have any idea what you've done? Perfectly. Then you know. Marco's smile turned savage. I can't let her leave. Dante's voice dropped to something lethal. Try it. Marco's men moved. So did Dante's. And suddenly the church wasn't neutral ground anymore. Everything happened in seconds. Dante shoved me behind him as guns emerged from jackets. 3, 4, too many. His body became a wall. Between me and Marco's men, solid and immovable. Don't, he said, voice carrying through the church like a prayer in reverse. You fire in here, and this ends badly for everyone. You violated the truce. Marco's voice shook with rage. You brought a dead woman into sacred ground. She was never dead. Dante's hand found mine behind his back, squeezed hard. Your men failed. Again. The insult landed like a slap. Marco's face flushed dark. I'll finish it now. And start a war you can't win? Dante took a step forward, pulling me with him. Look around, Marco. My men have positions on every exit. Your reinforcements are already neutralized. You pull that trigger, and you don't leave this church breathing. Silence. thick and suffocating. I could feel my pulse in my throat, the diamond necklace suddenly too tight. Dante's hand remained locked around mine, anchoring me even as he faced down armed men like they were nothing. Marco's eyes darted to the shadows, calculations, running behind them, then back to me. "Why?" he asked, voice strained. "Why does she matter to you? That's my concern." "She looks—" He stopped, something breaking across his face. "Madonna, she looks just like—" "Say her name." Dante's voice went deadly quiet. "Say my sister's name, Marco. I dare you." The air crystallized. Marco's jaw worked. His gun hand trembled, rage or fear. I couldn't tell. "You think I don't know what you're doing?" He gestured at me with his free hand. "Playing dress-up with some girl who resembles her? This is sick, Dante. Even for you. The only sick thing here is you." Dante released my hand, took another step forward. "You murdered Lucia because she saw what you really were. A coward. A nothing playing at power. I loved her. You killed her." The words exploded through the church, bouncing off stone and broken glass. "You rigged her brakes because she was going to expose you. Because you couldn't control her. That was an accident. Bugiardo. Liar." Dante's hands curled into fists. "You confessed to your accountant, the same one you had killed 3 weeks ago. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Marco's face drained of color. "That's right." Dante's smile was terrible. "I have recordings, testimony, proof you murdered my sister in cold blood." He paused, letting it sink in. "The only reason you're still breathing is because I wanted to watch you realize it first. You have nothing. I have everything." Dante pulled a phone from his pocket, held it up. "One call to the commission, and they'll know exactly what you are. A sister killer. The families will tear you apart themselves." The gun in Marco's hand wavered. "Why?" His voice cracked. "Why bring her here? Why play these games?" "Because I wanted you to see." Dante's voice dropped to something almost gentle, more dangerous than rage. "I wanted you to see what you could have had, what you destroyed. And I wanted you to know that this time." He looked back, at me, then to Marco. "I'm not letting you take anything else from me." The words hit me like electricity. Anything else from me. Not just Lucia. Me. Marco saw it too. Understanding dawned across his face, ugly and knowing. "Dio," he breathed. "You actually care about her. Lower your weapons," Dante said instead of answering. "And walk away. Tonight, you walk away. So you can what? Keep her? Play house with Lucia's ghost? So you can live." Dante's voice carried no emotion now. "Tomorrow, the commission receives my evidence. What happens after that is up to them. But tonight," he gestured toward the door, "you leave, and you pray I'm feeling merciful when they come for you." Marco's men exchanged glances, uncertainty rippling through them. "Boss," one started. "Shut up." Marco's eyes never left Dante's face. "This isn't over." "Yes," Dante said quietly. "It is." For a long moment no one moved. The church held its breath, all of us suspended between violence and surrender. Then Marco lowered his gun. His men followed suit, slowly, reluctantly. "You'll regret this," Marco said, backing toward the door. "Keeping her alive. It makes you weak. Get out." Marco looked at me one last time, something ugly twisting his features. "She'll end up just like Lucia. You know that, right? Everything you touch turns to ash." Dante moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was beside me, the next he had Marco against the wall, forearm across his throat. "If you come near her," he said, voice barely above a whisper, "if you even think about her, I won't wait for the commission. I'll kill you myself." Slowly. "Do you understand?" Marco's face was turning red, hands clawing at Dante's arm. "Do you understand?" "Yes," Marco choked out. Dante released him. Marco stumbled, coughing, his men rushing to support him. They retreated toward the door, weapons still drawn but pointed down. Marco paused at the threshold, one hand on his throat. "This was a mistake, Dante." His voice was raw, a fatal one. Then they were gone, footsteps echoing into nothing. The church fell silent. Dante stood frozen, staring at the empty doorway, chest heaving like he'd run miles. His hands were shaking, barely noticeable, but there. "Dante," he turned, and the look on his face stopped me cold. Not anger, not triumph, Fear. We need to leave, he said hoarsely. Now. What? Why? Because I just declared war. He crossed to me, grabbed my hand, and I used you as the reason. The implications crashed over me like cold water. Oh God, he'll come for you now. Not to kill you. Dante's grip tightened. To take you, to prove a point. Then we go back to your house. It's not safe anymore. Nowhere is. He pulled me toward a side door I hadn't noticed. I have a place. Off the grid. We leave tonight. For how long? He looked back at me, and I saw the truth in his eyes before he said it. Until one of us is dead, outside. Sirens wailed in the distance. And, somewhere in the dark, I heard footsteps, running toward us. The safe house was a lie. Not in location. We'd driven 2 hours north, deep into wooded hills where houses disappeared behind gates and silence, but in name. Nothing about the cabin felt safe. Not with Dante pacing like a caged animal. Not with my heart still hammering from the church. Not with the weight of what he'd said pressing down on everything. Until one of us is dead. I stood at the window, still wearing the red dress, watching dawn break over pine trees. We'd arrived at 3 a.m. No luggage, no plan. Just the clothes on our backs and the guns Dante had pulled from a hidden panel in the car. Behind me, I heard him stop pacing. You should sleep, he said. So should you. I can't. I turned. He'd shed his jacket hours ago, rolled up his sleeves. The expensive veneer was cracking, showing the man underneath exhausted, wired, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with violence. What you said in the church. My voice came out steadier than I felt. About not letting him take anything else from you. You meant, don't. He ran a hand through his hair, destroying its perfect styling. Don't ask me to explain that. Why not? Because I don't have a good answer. He moved to the small kitchen, poured whiskey into a glass with shaking hands. Because everything I do makes sense until it involves you. The admission hung between us. I remind you of her, I said quietly. That's all this is. No. The glass slammed onto the counter. Stop saying that. Stop hiding behind my dead sister like she's the only reason I... He stopped himself, jaw clenching. The only reason you what? He stared at me across the small space, something raw and desperate in his eyes. The only reason I'd burn my entire world down to keep you breathing. The words stole the air from my lungs. Dante, you think I don't know how insane this is? He laughed, bitter and broken. I've known you for 3 days. 3 days, Arya. I shouldn't care if you live or die. You should be another casualty in a war that's been going on for years. He moved closer, and I saw the fractures in his control. But every time I look at you, every time you say my name... He stopped inches away, close enough I could feel the heat radiating off him. What? I breathed. I forget why I'm supposed to stay away. My heart slammed against my ribs. Maybe you're not supposed to. Yes, I am. But his hand came up, fingers tracing the line of my jaw with devastating gentleness. I destroy everything I touch. Marco was right about that. Lucia died because of me. My father died because I wasn't smart enough. Everyone who gets close to me ends up, I'm still here. For now. His thumb brushed my lower lip. But how long before you're just another ghost I carry? I caught his hand, pressed it flat against my cheek, then stopped carrying them alone. Something broke in his expression. The control he'd maintained for days, maybe years, cracking like ice under pressure. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. I stepped closer, closing the last distance between us. I'm asking you to let me in. Stop treating me like I'm fragile. Stop protecting me from you. I'm not protecting you from me. His voice dropped to something raw. I'm protecting you from what I'll do to keep you. Show me. His eyes searched mine, looking for doubt, for fear. Finding neither. Then his mouth was on mine. Not gentle, not careful, desperate and claiming, and everything he'd been holding back for 3 days. His hands fisted in my hair, tilting my head back, and I opened for him, meeting his hunger with my own. The kiss tasted like whiskey and violence and something darker, possession, maybe, or surrender. I couldn't tell which. His hands found my waist, pulling me flush against him. The red dress was too thin, too revealing. Nothing between us but silk and intention. I gasped against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, backing me against the wall. Tell me to stop. His lips moved down my throat. teeth scraping the sensitive skin there. Tell me this is insane. It is insane, I managed, hands fisting in his shirt. Don't stop. He pulled back, just enough to look at me. His eyes were storm dark, pupils blown wide. If I don't stop now, his voice was wrecked. If I take this further, then don't stop. I pulled him back to me. Don't you dare stop. Something in him broke completely. His mouth found mine again, harder this time, more certain. His hands slid down my sides, finding the slit in the dress, fingers burning against bare thigh. I arched into him, every nerve ending on fire. Then his phone buzzed. Once, twice, insistent. He ignored it, lips moving to my collarbone, the hollow of my throat where the diamond still rested. It buzzed again. Dante. Ignore it. It could be. He pulled back with a curse, grabbing the phone from his pocket. Read the screen. And went absolutely still. What? Ice flooded my veins. What is it? He looked at me, and I saw genuine fear in his eyes. It's Marco. His voice was hollow. He has my sister's grave. I didn't understand. What do you mean he has? He dug her up. Dante's hand shook so badly he nearly dropped the phone. He sent a photo. He's Cristo, he has her body. Horror crawled up my spine. Why would he? Because he knows it's the one thing that will make me come. Dante was already moving, grabbing his jacket, checking his gun. He's at the cemetery, alone. Says if I want her back, I come now, without backup. It's a trap. I know. He looked at me, something terrible and final in his expression. But I have to go anyway. Then I'm coming with you. No. He crossed to me, gripped my shoulders. You stay here. Door locked, gun loaded. Don't open for anyone but me. Dante, please. I can't protect both of you. His forehead pressed against mine. And if something happens, if he gets past me, nothing's going to happen. You don't know that. Neither do you. He kissed me once more, hard and desperate and goodbye. Then he was gone. I stood in the empty cabin, still tasting him on my lips, and knew with absolute certainty he wasn't coming back, not alive, unless I did something. I found the spare gun in the kitchen drawer where he'd hidden it, checked the clip, and walked out into the dawn. The cemetery was older than the city itself. Crumbling headstones tilted at broken angles, names worn smooth by a century of rain. Morning mist clung to the ground like restless spirits. And somewhere in the distance, a crow called out sharp and accusatory. I found them in the oldest section, where Moretti family markers rose like small monuments to the dead. Dante stood 20 feet from an open grave, gun at his side, body coiled tight. Marco faced him across the disturbed earth, 2 men flanking him, and between them, a casket, pulled from the ground, lid, half open. I couldn't see inside from where I crouched behind a mausoleum, but I saw Dante's face, saw the devastation there, barely contained beneath the mask he wore. You sick bastard, Dante said, voice carrying across the graveyard. Marco smiled. Just proving a point. What point? That you're insane? That she was always mine? Marco gestured to the casket. Even in death. Even now. And you, Hull? He laughed, ugly and sharp. You brought her replacement, as if a living copy could erase what I did. You want absolution? Dante took a step forward. There isn't any. Not for this. I don't want absolution. Marco's gun came up, aimed at Dante's chest. I want you to understand what it feels like. To lose everything. To watch it burn. Then shoot me. Dante spread his arms wide. Right here. Over her grave. Poetic. Even for you. Oh, I will. Marco's smile widened. But not yet. First, you're going to tell me where you hid the girl. Every muscle in my body locked. She's gone, Dante said. Far from here. You'll never find her. You underestimate my resources. And you underestimate my willingness to die before I tell you anything. Marco studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded to one of his men. The man moved to the casket, reached inside. Don't. Dante's voice cracked. Marco, please, tell me where she is. No. The man pulled out something wrapped in rotted fabric. Even from my hiding spot, I could see Dante's face drain of color. Still so protective, Marco mused. Even after all these years. You know, Lucia asked about you. At the end. He paused, savoring the cruelty. She said, tell Dante I'm sorry. Sorry for loving me. Sorry for breaking your heart. Stop. Sorry for choosing me over her own family. She never chose you. Dante's hands shook. She was leaving. You killed her before she could. Details. Marco's gun never wavered. The point is, she's dead. Has been for 5 years. And you're still here, trying to save girls who look like her. It's pathetic, Dante. You're pathetic. Something inside me snapped. I stepped out from behind the mausoleum, gun raised, hands steadier than they should have been. He's not pathetic. My voice cut through the morning air. He's the only good thing in this rotten world you built. Every head turned. Dante's face went white. Arya, drop the gun, Marco. I kept mine trained on him. Or I shoot. Marco laughed, delighted. Well, this just got interesting. He gestured to his men. See? I told you she'd come. They always come for him. I said drop it. Or what? You'll kill me? His smile was vicious. You don't have it in you, sweetheart. I can see it. The hesitation. The morality. He took a step toward me. You're too good to pull that trigger. He was right. My finger trembled on the trigger, but I couldn't make it move that final millimeter. Couldn't cross the line from victim to killer. That's what I thought. Marco's gun swung toward me. Now, the shot. Cracked through the cemetery like thunder. Marco stumbled, red blooming across his shoulder. His gun clattered to the ground. Dante stood with his weapon raised, smoke curling from the barrel. You're right, he said quietly. She's too good to pull that trigger. His eyes found mine across the space. But I'm not. Marco's men moved, reaching for their weapons. Don't. Dante's voice carried absolute authority. Unless you want to join him. They froze, hands hovering over holsters. This is between Marco and me, Dante continued, never lowering his gun. Has been for 5 years. You walk away now. I let you live. You stay, you die with him. The men exchanged glances. Then slowly they backed away. Smart. Marco clutched his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. You shot me. In a graveyard. Over your dead sisters. I shot you because you aimed at her. Dante moved closer, gun trained on Marco's head now. Because in that moment I had to choose. Lucia's memory or Arya's life. His voice dropped. And I chose her. The words hung in the morning air, heavy with truth. So kill me, Marco spat. Finish it. Avenge your precious sister. Dante's finger tightened on the trigger, then stopped. No, he said finally. What? I'm not giving you the easy way out. Dante lowered the gun slightly. You're going to live, Marco. Going to spend the next 20 years in prison, thinking about what you did. About the girl you killed, and the empire you lost. He pulled out his phone with his free hand. The commission's already been notified. Police are on their way. And the evidence, all of it is being released to every major news outlet within the hour. Understanding dawned on Marco's face. Horror. You're destroying everything. The families, the alliances. I'm burning it all down. Dante's smile was terrible. For her, for Lucia, for every person you hurt to build your kingdom. He looked at me. And for the chance to be something better. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Marco lunged. Not at Dante. At me. He was fast, even wounded. Desperation giving him strength. His hands caught my arm, yanking me forward, using me as a shield. The gun pressed against my temple. Now we negotiate. Marco gasped in my ear. Dante went absolutely still. Let her go. Car. Keys. Safe passage. Marco's breath was hot against my neck. Or I paint this cemetery with her brains. Marco. Now. I felt it then, the slight tremor in Marco's hand. Blood loss. Shock. Weakness. I drove my elbow back into his wounded shoulder. He screamed. Grip loosening, I dropped. Rolled. Dante's shot was perfect. Marco fell, clutching his leg, gun skittering away across wet grass. Then Dante was there, pulling me up, hands on my face, checking for injuries. Are you hurt? Did he? I'm fine. I grabbed his shirt, pulled him close. I'm fine. Police cars screeched into the cemetery, doors slamming, voices shouting. Dante wrapped his arms around me, tucking my face against his chest as officers surrounded us. I heard commands, questions, the click of handcuffs on Marco's wrists. It's over, Dante murmured against my hair. It's finally over. I looked up at him, saw exhaustion and relief, and something else, something that looked dangerously like hope. What happens now? I asked. He smiled, small and real and devastating. Now, his hand found mine, fingers lacing tight. We get to find out who we are when we're not running. The sun broke through the mist, warming the cold graves around us. And for the first time in days, I could breathe. 3 months later, the violin music drifted through the house, melancholy and beautiful. I found him in the study, bow moving across strings, eyes closed. But this time, when he sensed me in the doorway, he didn't stop playing, just opened his eyes and smiled. "Come here," he said softly. I crossed to him, and he set down the violin, pulled me into his arms. "You're getting better," I teased. Less sad, more hopeful. I had a good teacher. His lips brushed my forehead. She taught me that not everything has to end in tragedy. Smart woman, the smartest. His hand found my chin, tilting my face up. She also taught me that sometimes the best things come from the worst situations. Like what? His smile turned genuine, the kind that still took my breath away. Like us. And when he kissed me, it tasted like survival and second chances and the promise of days no longer numbered.